Standing like a beacon on the Hollywood skyline, Capitol Records is an iconic symbol of music on the West Coast. Sinatra, the Beach Boys, Snoop Dogg. Generations of legendary artists have recorded here. But music doesn't just happen in recording studios and concert halls. It happens when and where you least expect it. On street corners and in the back seats of cars.
That's where I came up with the rhythm for Vaseline.
It happens in late-night diners and rooftops by the sea.
The songs just came into his head and he could hear them like a concert.
Whether you're straight out of Compton or down on the boulevard.
You could just walk down the street and bump into Slash.
Music is all around us. You just have to know where to look. This is Los Angeles, and music happens here. The rhythms of the Pacific Ocean have left their mark on the music of Los Angeles, from the clean-cut sounds of surf rock in Malibu to the dark psychedelia of Venice, where a chance encounter between two former classmates from UCLA would lead to the creation of one of LA's most iconic bands.
He came walking down the beach. I was sitting out there about this time, maybe an hour or two later, waiting for my wife to come home from work. And sitting right out there, and who comes walking down the beach but James Douglas Morrison. I said, "Hey, where you living now?" He said, "Well, I'm up here on the 4th floor, slept up on the roof."
Those first songs he wrote up on that rooftop, he had some special pot that he was smoking, and he said the songs just came into his head and he could hear them like in a concert.
He looked out over the Pacific, and into his mind came, let's swim to the moon, let's climb through the tide.
We met up on the beach, and this is where he sang Moonlight Drive.
Jim Morrison was turning poetry into song, and his friend Ray, who played keys, liked what he heard.
And the rest is history.
Moonlight Drive would be recorded by The Doors in the spring of '67 as the B-side to Love Me Two Times. It's just one entry in a catalogue that continues to resonate some 50 years later.
Their sort of vibe and legacy still lives on as far as that, Venice beach, make music, hang out, play drum circles, smoke weed.
While Venice was The Doors' first muse, their love affair with Los Angeles stretches far across the city.
Jim wrote L.A. Woman about the city. The idea of the city as a woman just blew my mind.
On Wednesday, December 17th, 1969, the band find themselves in downtown LA, where they come across a hotel that seems to call to them, literally, by name.
So we marched into the lobby. There was nobody in there except one guy at a desk. He said, no, you can't take any pictures in here. Well, why not? He said, no, you've got to get the owner's permission. And I thought, well, that's fine. We'll have him stand in front of that window. And I saw a light go on inside the lobby, and I looked in there, and it was the elevator light. And I said, the guy left the desk. He went up in the elevator, quick.
And we kind of snuck in and sat in the window seat.
And I just took one roll of film, took less than 5 minutes. And then Jim said, let's go get a drink. So we all piled in the van and drove a few blocks to Skid Row. And we didn't know where to stop until somebody at the windshield looked and they said, look, on the next corner, Hard Rock Cafe. Well, no one had ever heard of that before. We said, gotta go in there.
Just went in the bar and we got some great shots in there.
And so they put that picture of the Hard Rock Cafe on the back of the Morrison Hotel album. And as soon as it came out, they got a call from London, and a voice said, would you mind if we use that name? We're starting a cafe here in London. And they said, no, go right ahead. And that was the start of the Hard Rock Cafe empire.
Over in Silver Lake, on the east side of LA, a local band searches for identity.
We started playing together in 2000. At some point, we needed a name, and we wanted a name that represented who we were. The name Silver Sun Pickups comes from the Silver Sun Liquor Store, which is right on the corner of Silver Lake Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard.
It was almost just like a term that we would always use, like, oh, we're going to Silver Sun to pick up something. And it's just our neighborhood market.
We were so entrenched in Silver Lake, and we were very proud of our neighborhood, so we wanted a name that represented it.
We still don't get discounts at Silver Sun Liquor. We've tried, but no.
Even before the riots of '92, a combustible mix of poverty, racial politics, and social injustice is igniting a new sound in the city of Compton, a sound that would reverberate far beyond these south central streets.
This is the birthplace of gangster rap.
The scene back then was really like the Wild Wild West. You had like maybe 100 different gangs. Everybody was vying for power. It was like a war zone. So a lot of my raps came from trying to survive in Compton.
It was raw. It was uncut. It was just kids that were rapping about the stuff that they went through on a day-to-day basis.
Our tour guide today knows a thing or two about Compton and the generation of hip-hop stars it's produced over the years. One of them is his stepson.
When the game was about 11, 12 years old, he did a song at the talent show, LL Cool J, I Need Love. And he killed it. That was the moment when I realized this kid might have what it takes. This is the boyhood home of soon-to-be legend Kendrick Lamar. If you remember the album cover, Good Kid, Mad City, the black minivan on the cover, that was shot right across the street. This is where he got his inspiration. Number 21, Tam's Burgers. Just some of the international superstar rappers that have talked about Tam's Burgers is the little homie YG, and of course Kendrick. This is his favorite place, just right around the corner from where he grew up. It was just like a focal point here in the neighborhood. This used to be Skateland. Skateland was the original place where NWA ever played.
We were at Central and 135th. The next street down was Piru Street, one of the most notorious gangs in Compton. It was rough.
It gave Compton youth a place to go and experience music and, communicate.
We were a skating rink. We played music every night, but it really took off when we did live performances. We started doing Latifah,
Ice-T,
Run DMC.
They brought Easy there.
Beastie Boys.
NWA. It was a significant place like Studio 54 for rap music on the West Coast. And you ain't seen nothing like that in the city of Compton since.
Once we got the patrons out, and my staff would be there cleaning up, NWA would all go over to the snack bar. They'd send out, buy some E&J. I'd provide the Pepsi. I never charged them to come in. So Dre and Yella, Cube, they would be back there usually writing music, sometimes going in the DJ booth, working on mixes.
On one particular night in March of '87, NWA would draw the attention of music moguls with the power to change their lives forever.
There was going to be some executives from some of the record companies there. This was supposed to be a really big night. As I was coming out of the green room, Eric put his hand on my shoulder and he says, "Damn, NWA at Skateland USA. This shit is epic. And I told him, I said, Eric, your life will change from this point on. I may not even see you again. They were picked up that night, and I don't think I ever saw him after that.
Less than a year later, Skateland closes its doors, but its legacy lives on, even today. In West LA, on the corner of Butler and Santa Monica, stands a sanctuary for artists from every generation.
Supertramp, Breakfast in America, Lucinda Williams, Melissa Etheridge, Pink Floyd, The Chronic, and Doggy Style. It's a huge list.
One band in particular would leave a lasting impression.
Studio D was built by and for Fleetwood Mac for Tusk.
I think at a certain point, Lindsey got worried that the phenomenon, the success of the album Rumors was starting to overshadow the actual creative work. So it became important to Lindsey to do something completely different. A gentleman named Jordy Hormel, who owned the Village Studios, approached us. What Jordy offered us was a chance to build a room to our own specifications.
Stevie Nicks designed the stained glass booth with trees and stuff behind it so you get a feeling of being outside. You can look up and see trees and blue sky and stuff. It's just an illusion.
It would lend to the whole spiritual nature of what her lyrics were saying, which was more conducive for Stevie's vocals. The price for us building a studio for the record Tusk at that time was probably the most expensive studio ever built. It became important to Lindsey that this next record was definitely going to be different, and it was.
Mick Fleetwood saw a parade and heard the traditional German brass band.
So Mick had come up with an idea to put an actual marching band on this song in the background.
So he called the band office and asked if we were interested, and they invited the Trojan Marching Band.
It didn't take Fleetwood Mac long to realize that the studio could never accommodate the size of a full marching band.
Keeping the LA spirit alive, we figured, well, why don't we do it at Dodger Stadium? Obviously, the marching band couldn't have headphones, so we had to broadcast it through loudspeakers set at different intervals throughout the infield. And I could not believe the energy.
It was so different. There wasn't anything even close to Tusk on the airwaves.
The legacy of Tusk stretches all the way to present day, and a band native to Los Angeles are about to pay tribute to one of their greatest influences.
I remember playing Tusk as a little kid, and I just thought that song was kind of weird.
Fleetwood Mac certainly has been one of the elemental influences, especially recently.
Why don't you ask him if he's gonna stay? Why don't you ask him if he's gone away?
It's pretty amazing to be playing a Fleetwood Mac song where the entire album came from.
Recording the song Tusk, there's just a certain atmosphere about Los Angeles that was conducive to creativity at the time. It had LA running through its veins.
Up the Pacific coast in Malibu, where the mountains meet the ocean, a young band finds inspiration for the follow-up to their breakthrough album.
We rented this big, beautiful mansion, and we moved in all of our recording gear, and we stayed there for quite a few months. Our only job was to write songs and record songs.
Not to mention the fact that it's across the street from a beach that we surfed at very regularly. So it was just a dream come true to be able to be in a place like that and record.
I wrote the lyric to the song, "I Wish You Were Here," walking on the sand in front of the Morning View house.
I dig my toes into the sand.
I was quite literally just describing the environment around me.
There was this lagoon that was on the property, and every night when the sun would go down, frogs would just go crazy. They would make so much noise.
The frogs would just go into this beautiful symphony, chirping at each other. It sounded like thousands of them. One of us, I don't know who it was, came up with the brilliant idea that we'll just record them for a couple of hours. We tried so many times to do it. It was like the minute we would drop the mic down, it was almost like they were like shy or they were being dicks. Like they would just stop. And so we eventually learned just like leave the mic and just push record and walk away. We end Morning View with the sound of these frogs.
Just totally captures what it was like being there at that time for us.
I think that the sort of relative isolation and the incredible views and also the space of the mansion on Morning View itself lent itself to the aesthetic of the album. It seemed highly appropriate to title the album after the place.
It's the 1950s. Tinseltown is in full swing. But something is about to happen that will put Los Angeles on the music map.
For me, the Capitol building is LA's version of the Statue of Liberty.
The first major label on the West Coast opens the doors to its new state-of-the-art building.
The building was completed in 1956. There are so many myths about the Capitol Records Tower. Some people think that it emulates a stack of records or that 90-foot spire on top represents a needle on a phonograph. Those are mostly interpretations. It's 13 stories, and it's the world's first circular office building.
It's a very famous hallway as recording studios go. It's sacred ground. Into the very loud part of the building. So this is the entrance to the tunnel to our chambers. The chamber hallway comes this way.
These trapezoidal echo chambers provide reverb lasting up to 5 seconds.
18 feet underneath the parking lot here.
I remember always associating that building with the Beach Boys, reading about Brian Wilson going in there like all hours of the night and creating masterpieces.
The first record ever recorded here at Capitol Studios. Here are the master tapes. Come Fly With Me album, which was nominated at the first Grammy Awards.
The first Grammy Awards would be a night full of surprises. Today, the Beverly Hilton Hotel is a place known for hosting the biggest stars in film and television. But on May 4th, 1959, the Grand Ballroom was filled with the biggest stars in music. At the time, music's biggest night isn't anything like the mega affair we know today.
It wasn't televised. Frank Sinatra had by far the most nominations, including Best Album of the Year, and he actually had 2 of his 1958 albums in that category for Come Fly With Me and Only the Lonely. Ironically, the only Grammy Award he won that year was for Best Album Cover for Only the Lonely. The thought was that since he had 2 of his albums in that category, that he perhaps canceled himself out and didn't take home the win.
It's the 1980s, and Hollywood is electric. For more than a decade, a half-mile stretch of Sunset is defining LA's music scene. Here at the Seventh Veil Strip Club, Motley Crue is filming a classic music video for the title track to their third platinum record. In an alley behind Guitar Center, a struggling rock band is rehearsing in a rundown storage space they also call home.
It was a place that they could live. They were close to the Sunset Strip and actually roll out of bed and start working on the material.
It's a small little shoebox, no bathroom. If you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go to Rock and Roll Denny's down the street. They built a loft because they found some plywood in the alley that someone had abandoned and figured, hey, if we're all gonna live here, let's build on the walls and, you know, sleep up on the walls.
The top bunk belonged to the band's lead guitarist, a fro-top gunslinger known simply as Slash.
Paradise City was put together there, Night Train was put together there, My Michelle was put together there.
The songs that Slash is crafting, along with the rest of his band, Guns N' Roses, would go on to become the biggest selling debut album of all time.
What was special about those songs is the first time they played them pretty much was the way they sounded on Appetite for Destruction.
It was magic. The hair on my arms would stand up when they were out there and when they were firing on all cylinders.
The time in that studio was the last time they were pretty much on the streets. A month after that, they got signed, and once they got signed, they never looked back.
Across the street from the rehearsal space that spawned Guns N' Roses sits a guitar shop where in 1991, another aspiring musician is trying to make ends meet.
That was my first job moving up to LA on Sunset and Gardner.
Only a crosswalk away, Rob's friend and bandmate Scott Weiland is working as a chauffeur.
He didn't have such a bad job. He was driving models around, so I was dealing with hairband guys. On his lunch break, I'd pick up a guitar and I'd say, you know, check this out.
And those guys used to take every opportunity they could to write and share music.
Scott and I would sometimes go to my '67 Buick to write songs. It was like sitting on a sofa in that car, so we would go kind of hash out ideas there. That car had a blinker that would go, and that's where I came up with the rhythm for a song we have called Vaseline, which goes down, 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 and it was because of that blinker. I heard that and decided to make a song.
A lot of things can happen in the back of a car, kids.
The show lights of the Sunset Strip burn brightly. For rock and roll royalty, the main attraction is the menu at a late-night bar and grill.
It's like Disneyland for drunks. Well, I remember the Rainbow, of course, very, very well. I spent 2 years there one night.
Because it's the iconic place, I guess. You gotta go to the Rainbow. You know, when you guys go down and play the Roxy, that's where you gotta go hang.
A lot of people think it's a place that you go to see bands. It's not, it's a restaurant.
Everybody had a pizza, the chicken soup if you had a sore throat, if you've been singing too much.
The food is absolutely incredible.
You would always catch a rock star. You could just bump into Slash.
Aerosmith.
Motley Crue hanging out, the Stones, and see B-Real and his homies over there rolling big old fat joints.
It was the place to be if you wanted to be a rocker.
I think Lemmy used to hang out there all the time because he lived right across the street.
Lemmy, God rest his soul. I met him at the Rainbow one night. We went down to his place and wrote some songs. We ended up writing Can't Catch Me, which is a song that we play in our live performance still today. I came out of here one night and I was with Nikki Sixx. There was a guy hiding in the bushes and didn't like the way we looked. So he jumped on Nikki and started a fight. I had a chain belt. I handed it to Nikki and I said, "Nikki, hit him with this belt." He actually smacks a sheriff and the police grabbed Nikki and took him to jail.
That night in his cell, Nicky wrote Knock 'em Dead Kid, inspired by his brush with the law outside the Rainbow.
So one night at the Rainbow, I was with Lars Ulrich and Duff McKagan. Somebody comes over, hey, you guys want to do Quaaludes? And we're like, of course we want to do Quaaludes. Who doesn't? What the hell are they? Okay. I start like drooling. I go, what? My face is melting. We didn't know what was going on. And Lars didn't do any. Lars comes over and starts charging fans $5 to get their picture with Guns N' Roses and Skid Row. And he's all fired up. Hey, man, come on! Come and meet your heroes right here. Here they are. We're going, hey, that's fucking bullshit, man. Click. Next. First and last time I ever did Quaaludes. Welcome to the Rainbow. I'll stick to pizza. And that's a rock and roll story from me to you.
Music happens when and where you least expect it. It's all around you. You just need to know where to look.